and welcome to the stream. So, I'm joined once again by the lovely Xenos.
Hello.
And she's been pretty sick the past couple weeks. So, I'm really glad that she's feeling a bit better. Still working on recovering, but I'm really glad that she's she's starting to feel better. And that she seems really eager to get going with music. She's been working on a bunch of stuff in like in the background, and so I wanted to make sure to get going with teaching some stuff, so that it'll hopefully help out with what she's working on. And so last lesson. I taught things in a very different way from how they're usually taught, because to get to the interesting stuff, there's usually just an absolute ton of memorization, and just way too much memorization. But this time, I'm going to teach things in closer to the way that it's taught traditionally, so with starting with a bunch of memorization, but hopefully it's not an overwhelming amount of memorization, and so there'll be a few new concepts, but there'll be things that should hopefully really help with communicating about music, and communicating with people about what's happening in music, especially music like rock, where it's quite often very rhythmic, and quite often has very interesting rhythms as well. But before we really dive in, there was one thing when I was looking in researching for the last episode, the last lesson, where looking at Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. We won't do much with Twinkle Twinkle Little Star this week, but last time, I looked into, it's based on a French song, "A vous dirai je maman." The lyrics to that one seem kind of like nonsense to me, but but I noticed something in passing that I just kind of didn't fully process at the time, but it stuck in the back of my mind until I realized something was a little bit different. And so I figured I would start out just... so I have the music here, but I'll actually just sing it. I should stop the background music. Okay, there we go. That's a little bit clearer now. Okay, so I noticed something that was slightly different, and I'm going to try to convey what was different in how I sing it. Now, the rhythm was the same. The notes were the same. I mean, technically, the original had a slightly different rhythm because it had different lyrics, but assuming that, I will sing both versions with the same rhythm and the same notes, and the same tempo, or at least I'll try to sing them at the same tempo. And let's see if you can. I'll sort of give a more explicit hint as I sing what the difference might be. I should pick out a first note though. Twinkle, twinkle. Okay, that might be a little high for this. Twinkle, twinkle. Maybe in between. Twinkle, twinkle, little star. Okay, I'll try it there. Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. Up above the world so high, like a diamond in the sky. Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. But that is not how it was originally written. Same notes, same Same rhythm. I'm gonna sing it a second time the way that it was originally written. And see if you can spot the difference. Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. Up above the world so high, like a diamond in the sky. Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. So it's a subtle difference. It's a subtle difference. It is that it does not start on beat 1 of the bar, and I haven't explained what that means yet. But it's something that I thought was a great way of sort of kicking off this episode and seeing how very subtle changes can make a significant difference in how something is perceived. Even if the rhythm is the same, if the location of the beats within the bar is different, that can make a different. It can be perceived differently, and so interestingly, so the original was written like this. Mozart sort of split the difference and made every bar just 2 beats. And when he wrote an arrangement, and then when it got turned into the Twinkle Twinkle Little Star that we know today, it was shifted over like this. So it's interesting how over time things can change in subtle ways that that may not have been intended. Yeah, so just thought that was an interesting observation. And the original is on the Wikipedia page for the, if you go to the Twinkle Twinkle Little Star Wikipedia page and then click on the link for À vous dirai-je maman, the song that it was based on, it has the original, or at least one of the very early versions of it printed out. And it has everything off by 2 beats. So, now diving in. This is going to be a bunch of terminology. So, the first thing I'm going to mention, and we'll get into other examples later, is the meter. And so the meter is sort of like the structure that we're putting notes into rhythmically. And it's sometimes called the time signature. It's very often called the time signature because that's what the written version of the meter is. So in this case, the meter of 4/4 has. I'll get into explaining what that means, but we have in what's called a bar. That's everything in between 2 bar lines. So these vertical things are called bar lines, and everything between them is a bar. And in a bar of 4/4, it fits 1 whole note. And in the UK, they use different terminology for it. I find this terminology simpler than this is what gets used in North America. I'll mention the other terminology after I've gone through these because I think this is a lot simpler. So 1 whole bar of 4/4 is 1 whole note, and it would be counted 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's that there are 4 beats in 4/4, and if you take a whole note, 1 whole note, and you split it into halves, so there's going to be a lot of 2s, a lot of 2s in this lesson. We'll get into some 3s later, but for now we're just splitting things into in 2 separate equal amounts. So 1 whole note gets split into two half notes. So 2 halves is 1 whole. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 is 2 half notes. And each half note can get split into 2 quarter notes. So 1 whole note is 4 quarter notes. So 4 quarters in a whole. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. So each quarter note can be split in 2 to make eighth notes. So we have 8 eighth notes in 1 whole note. And they're usually counted 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So just to have some sort of syllable to attach to the second eighth note of each pair without having to disrupt the beats. So we still have 1, 2, 3, 4, but we've added an extra note in between. So we have 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. And lastly, I won't get into further stuff today, but we have, if we take each eighth note and we split it into 2, we have 16th notes. So 16th notes are usually, so there are 16 16th notes in 1 whole note. So 16th notes are usually counted like 1 E and a, 2 E and a, 3 E and a, 4 E and a. Oh, hi, Nikki. Good to see you. How's it going?
Hello.
So these are just the... Oh, hi, Kodakula. Good to see you, too. So, so 16th notes are usually counted this way just to give some sort of syllables so that all of the syllables are different. But yeah, we'll see in some more examples how this comes, how this gets a little bit trickier. So when a note isn't there, as it may not be, we'll see what that looks like too. But basically, all of the rhythms that we're going to be looking at today, well, except one of them, but whatever, it's fine, are composed just of whole notes, half notes, quarter notes, eighth notes, and 16th notes. So that's all of the notes, really, that you need to be aware of. For a first pass at things, at least. So I like that the naming has a natural sort of progression to it. In the UK, I think a whole note is called the semibreve. I think half notes are called minims. Quarter notes are called crotchets, spelled like crochet, but but they pronounce it differently. And eighth notes are quavers, and then 16th notes are semi-quavers. It's like
It's so weird.
Yeah, it's like very different names for them. I kind of like that these are just named by how much you divide a whole note. And like a whole note isn't necessarily a whole bar. We'll see other meters where the bar isn't a whole note in length, but just having an arbitrary starting point of a whole note is a decent enough reference for the names of the the note lengths. Nikki says, "Why did the UK Starbucksize the note names?" Yeah, well, I mean, in fairness, they started it. I think those names came first. Like based on the name semibreve, like for the whole note, you can probably guess that there's a longer note that they have, and that one it doesn't come up very often in most modern music. It it got used a bunch in plain chant and stuff in the church in the in 1600s or something, or 1500s, I don't know. But it doesn't get used a lot these days. It's just called a double whole note if it does get used. But since a bar of 4/4 is already filled by a whole note, you don't really need a note that's longer than that most of the time. And if you do, there are other ways to indicate it, as we'll get into. So, equally important often to the notes is the rests. So, rests are indicating when there is no note playing. So we have, same with the notes, we have whole rest, which is, I can't, okay. I guess selection doesn't work quite the same way in this view. So we have one whole rest is the full bar of 4/4. We have, that can be split into two half rests. So you wouldn't normally put two rests of the same length next to each other. There are a few times where you would, but this could just be written as a single whole rest. But a whole rest, as represented by two separate rests, is two half rests. And same with that, there are 4 quarter rests in the same length of time, and 8 eighth rests in the same length of time, and 16 16th rests. So they're not usually written out with so many of them in a row, as I said, because you'd probably just simplify it down and write them using longer rests. Because there's no attacks on the notes happening in here. There are no notes here. It's not as critical to have them written separately. Right. So I was going to just... Okay, so I haven't talked about tempo yet. We'll talk about that next. So that's a whole note. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, and... Oh, right, I can't... I keep forgetting that I can't... Right. So we had a before the call, we discovered that it wouldn't work to have either of us clapping or counting or singing along with music being played back because the lag on them is different. And so I have the lag accounted for in OBS, but it's not accounted for in Discord. And so if I count along with the playback, Xenos will hear it out of sync. And similarly, if she counts along or claps along with any playback on her side, it'll sound out of sync to us. So I have to remember not to do that. But I'll play these notes just to give it. Yeah, so most of the time, 16th notes are reasonably fast. But one thing that is a factor is the tempo. And the tempo is the number of, it's usually the number of beats per minute. Now in this case, we're considering one beat to be one quarter note. That's what we were counting here. So we were counting quarter notes when we count 1, 2, 3, 4. So the previous sample I played at 120 beats per minute. That's what the number here indicates. So this one is at 90 quarter notes per minute. hear the first one again. Actually, that did. Maybe that's not a great example. Okay. I might change the tempo even more to make it more obvious that it's changed. Like in most, when there's actual music involved, it makes a gigantic difference having a difference between 120 and 90. But now 60. So that's at half the tempo. So theoretically, those 16ths that we just heard are playing at the same rate as these 8ths. So deciding, so it is technically, or it comes up, there is ambiguity sometimes in whether or not something is just at half the tempo or twice the tempo, and which notes to use. So that is one factor that can introduce ambiguity, but it doesn't, like, you can choose, like, whatever makes the most sense to you is what works. Now I should change that tempo back because it might make other things too slow. And we'll see another type of ambiguity. Well, I mean, it's basically the same sort of ambiguity, but yeah, you could choose something to be like 4 quarter notes or 4 eighth notes, and just with a different tempo on them. So, starting to mix these notes together, we have just alternating a quarter note, 2 eighth notes, a quarter note, 2 eighth notes. So 1, 2, and 3, 4, and 1, 2, and 3, 4, and. So that's so if it was just 4 quarter notes, it would just be 1, 2, 3, 4. But with replacing beat 2 with 2 eighth notes, it's 1, 2, and 3, 4, and. So, or beat 2 and beat 4 with 8 notes. So, does that sort of make sense? Like, as an idea?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, good.
Yeah, you're like just putting in extra steps between each note.
Exactly. Now, so you might have noticed already that I'm just separating examples with a bunch of whole rests. So just so that there's a little bit of gap for me to hit the stop button. So changing things up a little bit more. So we have 1, 2, and 3, 4. 1 and 2, 3, 4. So I have a rest in there where there's no note. So I'm, and I should mention also that sometimes I'll be where it's clearer. Like if I'll be singing a rhythm, I'm more likely to be clapping the beat. Whereas in this case, I'm clapping the rhythm itself. It's sometimes useful to hear just the beat, and other times it's more useful to be hearing the rhythm clapped. Okay, so this one is exactly the same idea of we replace beat 2 with 2 eighth notes, and we replace beat 4 with a rest. And here we replace beat 1 with 2 eighth notes, and beat 4 with a rest. So 1, 2, and 3, 4. 1 and 2, 3, 4. So it does have a little bit of a different feel having the eighth notes on beat 1 than it does on beat 2, even though like mechanically they're they're the same. Yeah, so does that seem okay?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna be ramping things up a little bit in in a moment. So now this is where notation starts to get a little bit different. So we have things usually split at the beat. And in some cases, we'll see later, the beat isn't necessarily a quarter note. But in this case, we want to be able to have an eighth note and 2 16th notes in a single beat. So before we saw 2 eighth notes and 4 16th notes in a single beat each. So the key thing is that eighth notes have one line across, one beam, right? That's the word. One beam on them, and 16th notes have 2 beams on them.
Okay.
And in fact, I forgot to put in an example here. Right. Oh, I haven't been describing these. So a whole note. I probably should have described this. So a whole note, it's just an ellipse. It's a little bit, it's drawn a little stylized, but I guess a whole note in the staff doesn't have the circle in it, or doesn't have the line through it. The line is just to indicate that it's past the staff. But whole notes inside the staff look like this. They either are on a line or on a space. And similarly, half notes are an oval with a stick on them. So they have a hole in the note head, and they have a stick on them. So if I have one in the staff, it looks like that, or like that. So it can also be on a line or a space. And quarter notes have a filled oval and a stick on them. And if they're in the staff, they look something like that. And if you put them higher up, the stem goes the opposite way, but you don't need to worry about that. That's
Gotcha.
There's a lot of time that gets spent on how to correctly draw these things when learning them, but it doesn't really make a difference. The thing that will come up later is when you have eighth notes that aren't beamed. For example, if you have an eighth rest and an eighth note, this beam becomes a flag. It's like a thing coming off the note, like that. So with eighth notes, you have one beam or a flag, and with 16th notes, like let's say we have, oops, that one. So yeah, so if they with the 16th note, they either have 2 beams or 2 flags on them. And same with like an eighth rest has one little twiddly thing, and a 16th rest has 2 twiddly things.
Right.
So that's how it's indicating how many times it's getting split. Okay. Yeah, so like an eighth note is basically a quarter note that's been split in half once, and a 16th note has been split in half twice. Okay. So if we want an eighth note and 2 16th notes in a beat, this is one way that can happen. So 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a. So this isn't the only possibility, as we'll see other examples in a moment. But I thought I'd share one example, one famous example where this rhythm comes up. And it, of course, doesn't start on beat 1. It starts just before the beat with 2/16th notes. So we have, in order to fill out the bar before that, we have an 8th rest, a half rest, a quarter rest, and an 8th rest, leaving 1/8 note worth of time. And that 8th note is 2/16th notes in this case. So if I play from the beginning of the bar. Yeah. And actually, I just realized, am I sharing this in...
No, I'm listening to it through the stream.
Oh, God.
I wanted to say something earlier, and then a lot of time passed, and then I felt too embarrassed to say something.
Okay, I'll stop. I'll stop sharing that one and share the correct window. Okay. This will make things a bit easier. Okay. Okay, so yeah, okay, so then okay, okay. So hopefully it still worked okay. Okay. So yeah, so this is let's and a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and 4 and a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and 4 and a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and 4 and a 1, 2 and a 3 and 4. Except we have a new concept. A tie. So a tie is when you want a note held into another note. So basically, we want a note here. Oh goodness! Thank you so much for the raid. Welcome on in. Oh, thanks for shouting out Lane. Yeah.
I can do my job.
Thanks. How was stream? How did it go? Oh, and then thanks so much for the follow. Yeah. Yeah. Feel free to introduce yourself, and if you need to raid and run, I totally understand. Yeah. So today we're doing a second lesson in music theory. Hi Lane, good to see you. How was stream? Been doing a series of experiments in language dev. Oh, cool, very nice. Yeah, there's so much fun stuff you can do with developing programming languages and stuff like that. Unless you mean like human languages. Stream was great. Worked on my silly programming language. Cool. Yeah, it's always neat seeing the situations where it's really useful to have a domain-specific language to really do things that other programming languages aren't necessarily designed to be suited for. Yeah. Oh, goodness. Well, thanks so much for bringing everyone on over. Yeah. Yeah. I've been doing a bunch of development streams lately, and I'll probably be doing some more gaming streams as well. There's some games that have been have been and will be coming out soon that I'm eager to try playing. But yeah, today we're doing music theory. So starting from scratch. So last lesson we sort of did things in a bit of a different way than they're usually done, and focused on trying to understand the perception of what the key is of a piece of music, like what the tonic note is, to have a basis for grounding what the pitches are in a piece of music. And today we're sort of looking at getting a grounding in the rhythm of the music. I'm taking a bit of a more traditional approach with this one because there's less to less to get through to get to the interesting stuff. Xenos is hoping to. She's written lyrics for a rock song that she's hoping to write, and so I'm walking her through some of the things that could help with that or help with communicating about that when running into difficulties with that. So, yeah, I'm really excited. So this one, this lesson is a lot more terminology, but hopefully it's not too overwhelming. So we've covered whole notes, half notes, quarter notes, eighth notes, 16th notes, just splitting in half each time, and the same with rests, and tempo, and the bar, and meter. We haven't really gotten much into meter yet, but we'll see in a bit. So, yeah, so when we have... Hi, Jay. Good to see you. So yeah, when we have an eighth and 2/16, that gives us this sort of rhythm. Now it does have this thing before the beat, which is often called a pickup. I think the technical term is like an anacrusis or something like that. Or maybe I mixed that up with some other term, but people usually just call it a pickup, like a pickup to this bar. So this acts as like a lead-in to the to beat one. So here we had a note that lasted, oh, have a good lunch. And thank you so much again for the raid. I hope you have a great day yourself. So here we have a note that lasts for 5/16 notes of time. So it's a quarter note plus the length of a 16th note. Oh, thanks so much for the follow. Feel free to introduce yourself. I hope you're doing well. So we have one note that we wanted to last for 5/16, but that's not really... thank you for the follow as well. Got so many follows. So we've got a note that lasts for 5/16, but that's not... like a quarter note is 4, an eighth note is 4/16, an eighth note is 2/16 in length, and a 16th note, of course, is 1/16. So we can make something that's a different length by sort of adding them together, and that's what this tie does. It ties over into the next 16th note. So this isn't a separate. It's not a separately attacked note. We just have one attack at.
Okay.
And then we have 3/16 for the rest of that beat. So usually when counting, you would still say the like 1, 2 and a, but just so that you have the beat spoken, but you wouldn't clap on it. So it's 1, 2 and a 3 and 4. 1, 2 and a 3 and 4. So ties can make for notes. We'll see a whole bunch of ties later, and it gets used in a lot of different things, but it's still just built up of the same component. So we have 4/16 plus 1/16 equals 5/16 in length. Now, something that shows up in written music a lot. I'm sort of preemptively introducing this concept. And most people wouldn't consider it changing the rhythm, but it will look different in a piano roll view. it will look different in the piano roll view because this dot, so this is the same rhythm. So it's the same thing, except that this note is held for a shorter amount of time. And usually it's something on the order of half of the time. So this could also be written as a 16th note and a 16th rest. So that would... but having this all over the place gets a bit difficult to read. So having just a staccato dot above or below a note helps indicate that this is a shorter note. So as I said, it'll look different in a piano roll view because it'll be half of the length. But when in written music, it's treated as what's called an articulation. So basically a different way that the note is played, but it's considered to be basically the same rhythm. And the reason that, so effectively it still fills the length of time of an eighth note, but it's, the note itself only plays for a shorter amount of time, and the rest of the time is filled with silence. And the reason I'm introducing this, not just because it'll show up differently in a piano roll view, but there is a different there is a different dot that has a different meaning. And this one does change the length of a note in like the space that it occupies. So a dot after a note, in this case, this is a dotted eighth note, and that it goes into the name of the type of note as well. So a dot after a note means the note is 50% longer. So a dotted eighth is the length of 3/16 notes. So an eighth note without a dot is the length of 2/16 notes. And so half of that is 1/16. So this dot is adding 1/16 to this eighth note. And so I know Christmas is over. It was just the first thing that popped into my mind. So the length of that first note, this is with all, like writing out all 3/16 notes. So it'll sound a bit different, but it shows the more clearly what the length of time is. So if I could theoretically write these as tied, and so 3/16 notes tied together. So the ties, once again, make it so that the note is held through for the duration of all of the notes. So that is the same as a dotted eighth, but people would usually just write it as a dotted eighth. The exception to that, which keys am I pressing? Slash, there we go. Okay, so yeah, this is just to demonstrate that it really is the length of 3/16 notes. So this comes up a lot, and it'll be coming up in a bunch of later examples. But when it's, so the time that it's not usually used, though sometimes it is, if it's going across the boundary of a beat, it would usually instead be written using a tie, so that it's clearer where the beats are in the writing. But when it's within a beat, it's usually at the beginning of a beat when it's a dotted eighth. um, then it's just written as a dotted eighth without any ties. So so this example, I couldn't remember exactly why I put in this example, but it is an example of something we saw in the last lesson, which is using a note that's not in the key, resolving up a semitone to have in this case it's just a temporary modulation just for this bar, but I thought it was an interesting example of how even old simple Christmas tunes can have modulations in them. Yeah, so when it has this this note, and then almost immediately it switches back key because it has na da. So it has this note as an F natural instead of an F sharp. I just thought that was an interesting example of how it has a temporary modulation in there. Hi Kiko, good to see you. How's it going?
Hi, Kiko.
But yeah, you can see how it has the da 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 da. And I guess I haven't been counting these. So I guess 1, a 2, and 3, and 4, and 1 E, and a 2, and a 3, and 4. 1, a 2, and 3, a 4, and 1 E, and 2 E, and 3, and 4. Yeah, so we have, this is a 16th because it has 2 flags on it, or 2 beams on it, I guess. And also this, this also introduces the opposite rhythm. So in the previous example, we had 1 and a 2 and a. But now we have the 16th notes at the beginning of the beat. So we have 1 E and 2 E and. So that's that rhythm. And that rhythm comes up, in fact, both of these rhythms come up in this next example. And this example is an example of a march. It is a Radetzky March by Johann Strauss. Johann Strauss Sr., I think. There were a bunch of Johann Strausses. But the Johann Strauss Jr. wrote the Blue Danube, if you've ever heard the da-da-da-da, dun-dun.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So this one was written by his father, I think. So instead of being in a meter of 4/4, it's written in 2/4. I didn't actually check the original to check if it's written in 2/4. I'm just going to kind of assume because it's a march. It is a concert march, but it's still a march feel. So 2/4 is just 2 quarter notes. So the 2 at the top indicates that there are 2 of them, and the 4 at the bottom indicates that they're quarter notes in this bar. So this bar has 2 quarter notes of notes in them. So so why would you do 2/4 instead of 4/4? Because this could, in fact, I think I might have accidentally written it in 4/4 initially, forgot to change the meter. But why would you write it in 2/4 instead of 4/4? It's kind of just a vibes thing.
I see.
So 4/4, there tends to be a stronger emphasis on beat 1 than on beat 3. So, deck the halls with boughs of holly, fa la 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 la. So there's still a little bit of emphasis on beat 3, but there tends to be more of an emphasis on beat 1. So, and beat 2 and beat 4 are less emphasized, which we'll challenge that when we get into rock. But but there tends to be a stronger oomph on beat 1 than on beat 3. So Kiko says, Hi everyone. It goes pretty good lately. How goes music theory? The music theory's going pretty well. Yeah, so Xenos has been sick for the past couple weeks, so she's still getting over
Ooh.
stuff, but she's on the mend and excited to. She's been trying things out,
Probably
writing a rock
working when I
song.
shouldn't be.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's hard not to. It's hard to do nothing. Like, yeah. Um, and Jay says, pianist's job is never easy, and says, may I provide a link to an image of a sheet music of a music sheet, for example. Sure. Actually, I don't know whether I have links enabled or not. That's a good question. Do I have links enabled? Um, okay, no, it just showed up as stars. Okay, I guess I don't have links enabled. Sorry.
You can send it to me, and then I can put it in the chat that we're in.
Yeah. Yeah. Is it one of the ones where they try to make the music look like a line art sketch or something like that? 'Cause those are kind of neat. They get a bit iffy with the like how stylized they make some of the beams on the on the notes, but it's kind of fun. Yeah, so 4/4 kind of has a different character to beat one and beat 3, and beats 2 and 4 are kind of less emphasized. Whereas with 2/4, it's basically saying, nah, there's just 2 different beats. There's strong and weak on the beats. And yeah, it's like left foot and right foot when marching. Oh yeah, okay, yeah. One of the one of the joke things. Sit on keyboard and jump back to normal position without losing the tempo. Yeah, with both buttocks.
Oh, but thanks.
Yep. Yeah, there are a bunch of memes like that. And okay, where was that window? I switched windows. Okay, there we go. So with 2/4, it's kind of like saying, let's just have 2 different 2 different beats. So it's like in a literal march, if it was like a parade march or something like that, it would be left foot and then right foot. So left foot would be beat 1 and right foot is beat 2. If they're marching in time, that is. So this one, it's usually played as a concert march. Oh, we've got 3 minutes before ads. We should be able to get through this before that. So a concert march usually isn't played on a parade. It's usually played in a hall, but it's like a similar style. So this one is famous for a lot of conductors will turn around and start conducting the audience clapping to it, so that the audience will just be. So it gets the audience involved a little bit in it. Yeah. And like there are a lot of other marches in other styles. So this is a pretty classic sort of 2/4 march. Other marches, well, I haven't introduced 6/8 yet, but I'll get to 6/8 in a bit. But other marches are in meter called 6/8. Oh, excuse me. Liberty Bell, if I can remember it, is in 6/8. So that one's so it's still in 2, but it's not in 2/4 in that particular case. But yeah, as far as counting this, so this would be 1E and 2E and 3 and 4, a 1E and a 2 and 3. No, sorry, it's not in 4. It's not in 4. It's in 2. 1E and 2E and 1 and 2, a 1E and a 2 and 1. And a and 1 and a 2 and a 1 and 2 and a 1 and a 2 and a 1 and 2, a 1 and 2, a 1 and 2, a 1 and 2 and 1 and a 2 and a 1 and a 2 and a 1 and 2 and a 1 and a 2 and a 1 and 2, a 1 and 2, a 1 and 2, 1 a 2 and a 1 and 2. Oh, ads are about to start. I'll take a little break. Can get up and stretch and have some water, and we'll be right back after the ads. Welcome back from ads, everyone. And so far, everything we've looked at has been, well, apart from like the dotted eighth, has been based around 2s. I mean, even that, it's like 2 16th notes plus 1 16th note. And everything's split into, next I'm going to be looking at 3/4. So 3/4 time, the meter of 3/4. In each bar there are 3/4 notes. And so it doesn't get used a lot in rock. It does get used sometimes, but I'll get into that in a moment. But it's it has quite a different feel than 4/4 or 2/4, because it doesn't line up in the same buckets. the bars don't line up the same way in relation to the notes. So this is a song that we looked at last time. So in this case, there are only 3 beats in a bar. So you have 3, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. So it's just 3 of them. And this example doesn't have any 8th notes. So the 8th notes and 16th notes would be counted the same way. The case where it gets a bit different is 6/8. So 3/4 notes is the same number. 3/4 notes takes up 6/8 notes of time. So you might think that 6/8 is the same as 3/4. But this is specifically done to indicate that the beats are organized differently. So it's the same number of 8th notes per bar, but in 3/4 they're organized into sets of 2 8th notes. And in 6/8, and also in 9/8 or 12/8 or any multiple of 3 on top that isn't just 3, they will be split into groups of 3. So for 6/8, instead of having 3 groups of 2 8th notes, you have 2 groups of 3 8th notes. So they get counted a bit differently. Because you have 3 8th notes per beat, they can't just be counted 1 and 2 and, because you need one extra note in there. And unfortunately, I think this example doesn't have... We'll get into some other examples. But I'll play this. So that was 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4. 1 and a 2 and a 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 1 and a 2. So there are 3. So there are 3 eighth notes per beat. They get counted 1 and a. 1 and a 2 and a 1 and a 2 and a 1 and a 2 and a. This is a bit fast for counting three notes in there, but so the interesting thing comparing 6/8 to 3/4 is you can have things that are the same rhythm, but with the beat in a different place, because you have 2 beats in 6/8 and you have 3 beats in 3/4. So this is a 6/8 rhythm that that I've used recently, but so I've added accents on these. These greater than signs are called accents. They just make that note a bit louder at the beginning. So I've just used that to make the beat sound clearer. So you can sort of hear 1, 1, a 2 and a 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 1. But the exact same rhythm, same pattern of quarter note and eighth notes in 3/4. Now it has 3 beats in it. Let's hear that again. So it's 1, 2, and 3, and 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 1. So similar to what we heard with Twinkle Twinkle Little Star at the beginning, changing where the beats land can change how something sounds. Now 3/4, like we've kind of seen examples of it. Like we think of it, oh, it's a waltz or something like that. But it doesn't need to be polite. You can use it for an epic sound if that's your jam. So like it can be beefy. We can even change up the rhythm slightly. So let's add, so we had a quarter note there before. Let's make it 1, a 2, and 3, and 1, a 2, and 3, and 1. So adding 1/16th note. So we've got a quarter note before, and now we have dotted 8th 16th. So this is acting like the quarter note, but we just replaced the last, we put in a 16th on the last 16th note of the quarter note. Yeah. But that rhythm, once again, sounds a little bit different in 6/8. And actually, did I... Yeah, I changed the last bar to make it sound more in the style of 6/8. But these other bars are the same rhythm, and I've added the bass being on the beat. So this top part is the same rhythm, but just with different accents in it. And it's written with the beaming looking different because you usually beam notes together that are in the same beat. And because in 6/8 a beat is 3/8 notes long, we have all 3 of these in the same beam group. Okay. Now, something that does come up, and including in rock, is playing around with what the sense of the meter is, and making it not necessarily as obvious. So here we set up this expectation. So going along with the theme from last lesson of we're setting up expectations, and sometimes we're subverting those expectations. Usually we're validating the expectations to make sure they're solid, but it can be really effective to subvert them as well. We've set up this expectation with this rhythm. 1, 2. Oh, no. No. Right, of course. I forgot. I even had text. There's no good way to count this rhythm in 6/8. So I'd probably just do what what 1 and a 2 and a 1 and a 2 and a 1 and a 2 and a 1. Yeah, so I'd probably do that. But it doesn't quite, the whole counting thing is kind of just like, as it helps, but in this case it doesn't really help with understanding the rhythm. And it's also why it's a rhythm that kind of trips up a lot of people when listening to it. But we have this expectation set up, having this repeated 3 times, that we're in 6/8. We have 3/8 notes per beat. It's definitely sets of 3. It doesn't sound like 3 sets of 2. But then we have a bar where it switches to 2 sets or 3 sets of 2. So. And when I was writing this, I was like, can I think of any examples? And eventually I did actually think of an example that's very similar to this. In Iron Maiden's Rime of the Ancient Mariner, because that piece has an example of just about everything. They made it really long. They did a lot of cool stuff with it, and it has one section where it's like 1 and a 2 and a 1 and a 2 and a 1 and a 2 and a 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and a 2 and a 1 and a 2 and a 1 2 3 1 2. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So it does get used in rock sometimes, but it's like it's a bit of an oddity to have this sort of thing, but it can be effective for having something different in there. But so I don't know whether you've caught on yet as to where I'm going with this, but that's okay. That's okay. We've had the seeds planted. So I'm gonna take a little bit of a diversion from that. But like, are you mostly good with what we've gone through so far?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. So, this next thing, I didn't even bother beaming these notes. You will recognize what it is, but it is a great example of how stuff can get complicated. and it's not immediately obvious without additional context where the beat is. This is just a mess. I considered not even writing it this way, but you'll recognize it. So, like, we've heard it a million times. We know exactly that it's the Mario theme. But, like, without context of where the beat is, it's so hard to parse what is going on rhythmically with this. And in fact, I have incorrectly, heck, for all I know, I've incorrectly transcribed it here. But I didn't go back and listen to the original. But I know that I've incorrectly transcribed it in the past because I thought it was, I thought it was a slightly less strange rhythm. But here we've got, this is on the beat, assuming it's on the beat. But then this is on the 4th 16th note of beat 1. So beat 2 has nothing on it. And then we have a note on the and of 2. So this is the 3rd 16th note of beat 2. And then, 3rd 16th note of beat 2. And then we have this note is on the 2nd 16th note of beat 3 and on the 4th 16th note of beat 3. And then there's nothing on beat 4 either. We have these are on the 2nd and 3rd 16th notes of beat 4. It's just a mess. It does land on beat 1. But it's so when you have a rhythm like this, where you have notes that are off the beat and they don't have a corresponding on beat note, there's nothing on beat 2 here, but there's a note leading into beat 2. It's just before beat 2. There's nothing on beat 3. There's nothing on beat 4, but there are a bunch of notes in there. This is called syncopation, and syncopation gets used a lot for making rhythms more interesting. In practice, we'd probably have, I haven't listened to the original in a long time, but I would assume in the original Mario theme, they had another music line playing the beats, to make it clear where the beat is, because otherwise it's really hard to hear where things are. Now, things do get a bit funky in Latin style music, where they'll often be more flexible with, or I guess more making it harder to determine where the beat is, sort of having fun with playing around with where the beat sounds like it is. So there's a lot of syncopation in Latin style music, like salsa and things like that. Yeah, so let's look at a little simpler version of that. So this is also, so we're back to 4/4. Okay, good. That was technically 4/4, but yeah, you would never know it. So sometimes in Latin music they'll have syncopation in the bass line as well, so not just in the melody. So this is an example of having, well, we haven't seen a dotted quarter note yet, but the dot adds half of the value of the note before it. So half of the length of a quarter note is an eighth note. So this is the length of 3 eighth notes. And I have the melody also doing a bit of syncopation, but having accents on the beats to try to make it clear where the beat is. So there are a few syncopated notes in here where there isn't a corresponding on-beat note, but I've made sure that some of the notes are on the beat to make it clearer. So this is a pretty classic example of 3/3/2 syncopation. It gets used in a million different things. In this example, it sounds kind of laid back, but it's often also used in making something sound like a more driving rhythm, especially in rock. So this bass line would be 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 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 1. So it's got 3 eighth notes on this beat 3/8 notes, or 3/8 notes on this note, 3/8 notes on this note, and 2/8 notes on this note. So like you could sort of it it could be used to sort of mislead the listener into thinking, oh, maybe we're in 6/8, and then you have an extra beat that sort of invalidates that expectation, though it's like immediately set up. So it's not that much of an expectation. But landing back on beat 1 is what regrounds it after it. So if this kept going with 3/8 notes, like for an extended period of time, it might give a little bit. It might make things a little bit less clear what the beat pattern is, as I did in this case. This is just like I slapped this stuff together, so it's not any particular tune. But here we have a dotted quarter, so 3/8 notes long, and this is also a dotted quarter, but because it goes across the bar line, I've made it a quarter note tied to an 1/8 note. So it's still 3/8 notes long. And now we don't have a note on beat 1 in the bass. And we have another dotted quarter. So MoonPie Dumpling asks, what software is this? So this is a program that not many people use, but I learned as a kid, and I find it's really handy for transcribing really fast. I wouldn't actually recommend it for most people because it's one of those things where it's got 99% of what I need, and then that last 1% is a nightmare. So this is a program called Noteworthy Composer. It's really handy for just slapping something together quickly. I find it really handy for transcribing because I know most of the keyboard shortcuts, and so I can slap things down really fast. Yeah, I guess as an example of something that I won't be teaching about today, but is very much related to rhythm, is swing rhythms. Actually, the closest thing to swing rhythm that we've had today is this. So that sort of feel, even though that's not really jazzy, the same sort of idea gets used in swung rhythms, but when it's swing, it's usually written as 1/8 notes, but with the 1/8 notes being different lengths, which can be confusing to some people, and which is why we're not getting into it today. Noteworthy does not support swung 1/8 notes, which is one thing that I've run into a bunch of times, and there is a way to work around it, but it is not it's not a fun workaround. So that's just an example of one of the things that it doesn't support. But there's a lot of there are a few free options out there these days. There's MuseScore, which has gotten it has a free version for people to use, though it has some limitations on it. And it has a paid version as well. And then there's like the super expensive ones. I guess Finale finally, the company stopped making it. Finale was one of the biggest ones for a very long time, for decades. It was basically what people used for a long time. But yeah, I think it was last year they finally canceled development on Finale. But yeah, it cost like hundreds of dollars for a license. And the other big one, back in the day at least, was Sibelius. is another music writing program. And so the interesting thing there is that there was going to be a new version of Sibelius with a bunch of big changes made, and then the company axed it, and a bunch of the developers left and wrote their own music software based on what they were going to be doing to improve Sibelius. And so now Dorico is one of the big ones, written by that team of ex-Sibelius developers who wanted to improve Sibelius. And so now Sibelius is stuck with all of the UI issues and things that it has had for a long time. I haven't tried Dorico yet, but if I was going to try one, I would probably go with that if I have the money to spare. It's probably also a few $100s, but I haven't actually looked at it. Anyway, sorry, that's a big diversion, but yeah. So this software, I think it was like $50 US for a license of Noteworthy. So it's not nearly as expensive as like Finale or Sibelius were, but yeah, I would start with MuseScore if you're looking to write music in like music notation. And of course, if you're just wanting to write stuff in piano roll form, there are a ton of programs out there, digital audio workstations, or DAWs as they're called. Okay, sorry. So I'll play this example again before moving on to the next. Yeah, sorry. So I meant to mention, try to listen to the rhythm of the bass line. So that kind of thing gets used a lot in a lot of different contexts. But this is what happens if you go a step further, and instead of having 3/8, 3/8, and then 2/8, if you extend it out a little bit further, have 3/8, 3/8, 3/8, 3/8, and then 2/8 and 2/8. So it's a little bit harder to follow. I'll play that again. Yeah, so you can sort of hear how like it takes longer before it recenters itself on beat 1, because it doesn't have a bass note on beat 1 here. It takes it doesn't really fully settle into the rhythm again, or like it's harder to hear it as 4/4 until it gets to this point where it resets. So, so does that sort of make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and I won't worry too much about the rhythm on top. That was just something I slapped together as an example of something you might put over a bass line like that. Now, this is sort of where we start bringing ideas together. So this is an excerpt from the ending music of Super Mario World. I didn't check what the baseline is. I just put in some baseline notes. Hopefully they're okay. I probably should have checked because, anyway. But this does have some. So this is syncopated in the. I've just done quarter notes in the baseline, and so in the melody line here. There's some syncopation here. So we have this note is on the last 8th note of the bar, and then we don't have a new note on beat 1. It's just held over. So this is syncopated, and it's syncopated here as well, though it also has a lot of notes on the beat. So we have some well, and plus the baseline is all on the beat. We have some grounding for where things are, even though there's a bit of syncopation. But we'll see later on that it gets a little bit more interesting with that last bit. Yeah. So I'll play this. Let's listen to that again. So, before we look at what this is, the type of syncopation here, it's always anticipating beat 1, which is a really interesting thing. It does get used a lot in rock, sometimes it gets overused. It's easy to accidentally overuse it, but it still sounds okay. It's sort of like you're so excited to get to the beat that you get to the beat early. And in fact, this is originally quite a bit faster than this. Let's try 180. I don't even know what tempo we were at before. Something like that. Maybe not quite that, but so it's always like it's trying to be excited for the next beat. So it's like trying to it's trying to push the tempo. So it's one way to add excitement to a rhythm. But this rhythm, and actually I'll remove that tempo that I added so that it's a little bit slower and we can hear what's happening. Oops. So we've got this is effectively so we've got dotted 8th, 16th as we've seen before, and we've got an 8th, but we've effectively got a dotted 8th over the bar line. So this is 2 16ths and an extra 16th, so that's 3 16ths, same length as a dotted 8th. And then we've got 16th and 8th. So as we saw with the examples in 6/8, this is 3/8 long, and this is also 3/8 long, and it's the same pattern. It's re-emphasized. It's accented. So we have da 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 da. So it's 1 2 and 3 4, or 1 2 and 1 2 1. So this is 3/8, 3/8, and 2/8. So this is actually the same setup as this bass line here. We've got 3/8, 3/8, and 2/8. We've got more notes in there, but it's the same idea of 3, 3, and 2. And it's got this funky rhythm in here, but it's just so it's the same idea. It looks like a mess. It looks like a mess when it's written out, but it's got that same sort of structure to it. Now you might see where I'm headed with this. Maybe not. We'll see. But I guess before, okay, did I want to do... Okay, I guess we saw anticipation. I could show an example of that first. Okay, yeah, let's So before we see the next example, there was, oh gosh, I should have brought the, you know what, actually, I will do, I think I do have that file, so I was like, oh, do I really want to switch to, it is from Mario, it's the ending music to Super Mario World. Yeah, when it switches from dum ba dum ba dum bum ba. So it switches from 6/8 feel to a 2/4 feel, and then it switches back. So yeah, so this is from when it's a 2/4 feel. So where are we? Trying to find a file. Why is it so organized strangely? Okay. Did I have this in here? Okay, let's see. Let's see if this will be too loud. I might need to turn the volume down on it. I guess I wanted to start this here. Okay, so this is as an example of anticipation of the beat. Where I'm actually, so this is something I've written that I actually have it change the harmony, the eighth note before beat 1. So at least in one of the parts, in the middle parts. But let's, where's the volume control? Okay, hopefully the volume won't be too loud. I'll put it down a little bit, just to be on the safe side. Okay. So the harmony is very frequently changing right before beat 1. So I've got these repeated notes, and it changes right before beat 1, and it's tied over, and then it changes right before beat 1 again, and before beat 1 again. So it's this idea of having it like something pushing it forward, especially because the melody has long held notes in it. You want to have something that's helping add to the motion of it, so that it doesn't sound quite so monotonous. And I mean, I know I've got well, the big thing keeping the beat is this drum part. The drum part is this is actually muted because it's written in. This is what it looks like in standard drum notation, rock drum notation. But I have the actual MIDI notes, which look like garbage in another in another couple staves. But this is what's keeping things sound like a clear beat 1 and beat 4. We'll get into a bunch of examples of that, but. So, boom, chuck, boom, chuck, boom, boom, chuck, boom, chuck, boom, chuck, boom, boom, chuck, boom, chuck. Okay, so that's like it's got like the bass drum is doing some syncopation, but the snare drum is really consistently on beat 2 and 4. So that's basically what's keeping things really solid in terms of the perception of time. Yeah, so that's skipping ahead a little bit, but it's just an example of anticipating the beat as a way of driving things. But the thing that will be okay, and I'll turn the volume back up a little bit. MIDI isn't great at balancing things. So I wanted to focus a little bit more on this 3-3-2 pattern as an example. Dun, da, da, dun, da, 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 da. So, like to give another example from some music as the 332, and in this case 333322. So this is the double length one, where it's got 3/8, 3/8, 3/8, 3/8, and then 2/8 twice to make it line up with the bar line. It's basically taking all the 3/8 ones and putting them at the beginning for these two bars, so that it takes a bit longer for it to line up back to the bar line. So this is Green Hill Zone, and I'll play this because this is showing like how it would be written, but I'll play the actual thing after we listen to this transcription, so you can see how much difference there is between MIDI playback and a professionally produced thing. So this also has just the simple 332, 332, and just 3 and then holding a long note. And same here, 3 3 and then holding a long note. So it's like 332. And it has a bunch of syncopation in the melody as well, as we'll see. And this first bar, I think, is just to like mind reset. It's a bit confusing. Yeah. So you can sort of hear the dun 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 dun. So this is really common. It gets used a lot as like a pattern in rhythm. And same with the dun 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 dun. So the bass line and also in the real thing the rock drum beat keep the time. And interestingly, the melody does not start on beat 1. It does not start on beat 1. So distinguishing that it doesn't start on beat 1 is also an interesting, like, why doesn't it sound like beat 1? And it's partly because of what's come before it, establishing what beat 1 is. And then this comes in and it doesn't start there. So this has a lot of syncopation in it. When you have a really solid bass line making it clear what the beat is, you can be more flexible with what the melody does rhythmically. So that's a good way to add interest. It also gives you more flexibility in terms of lyrics, because we haven't talked about prosody yet, but certain lyrics lend themselves better to certain rhythms, and you can't easily, or rather, if you try to fit lyrics into a rhythm that doesn't suit the lyrics well, it can sound very strange. It can sound very strange. Whereas if you write the rhythm with the lyrics in mind, or write the lyrics with the rhythm in mind, whichever one you start with, it can make things much more effective as a lyrics line, like a sung melody line. So that's something to keep in mind. Green Hill Zone doesn't have actual lyrics, but so Farami Flammy says, what software is it? Guitar Pro? This is, so I just mentioned to Moon Pie Dumplings a few minutes ago, this is a bit of an odd program called Noteworthy Composer. It's, I wouldn't necessarily recommend it for starting out. It's just something I've used for, I guess since, I guess it's been almost 25 years that I've that I've used it. Maybe a little bit longer than 25 years. Yeah. So it's It's missing a lot of important features for a lot of situations, but it's something that I find it's really handy for just quickly writing something out. If I'm transcribing something, it's really handy for that because I know all of the shortcut keys. Like, I know that like whole note is 1 and half note is 2 and quarter note is 3 and eighth note is 4, and I can just switch between them. Enter to put in a note. I can use arrow keys and space to put in a rest. Yeah, there are a ton of other shortcut keys for modifying things. Eventually I'll probably upgrade to something else. And I should probably also learn how to use MuseScore, because it's what a lot of people are using these days, because it has a free version. But yeah, I think Noteworthy Composer was something like $50, but it's been a long time since I've checked. Yeah. So this rhythm has a bunch of syncopation in it as well. Sometimes you might, I've written this as an eighth note tied into an eighth note, so it's the length of a quarter note. Sometimes people will actually write this rhythm as eighth, quarter, eighth, even though it's like the beat crosses this quarter note. Just because if it gets used a lot, then it's easier to read this. Whereas if it's used one off, then it's harder to read. It's got a few other places where it's syncopated. It's got this note on the end of 2. It's got this note on the end of 3, with no corresponding note starting on beat 3 or beat 4. So it's pretty run-of-the-mill syncopation in there. You'll find stuff like this all over the place, especially when there's a really clearly established meter and like something in the percussion or the bass line or something like that, establishing where things are at. So we've seen a few examples now of of 3-3-3-3-2-2, and we've even seen 3-3-2, where the rhythm is that dotted 8th, 16th, 8th rhythm that we saw before. So I don't know if you've already put the pieces together, and I'm gonna skip that to go into this, which is a rhythm you might recognize. That is, this is a 3, 3, 3, 3, and 2. Oh, well, thanks so much for the follow. Was that someone following just now? It said it finished the follower goal. I should probably actually set goals like mindfully instead of just being random goals. I have it automatically setting those goals. I don't know why it decided to say that it was finished right there, but okay. So this is 3, 3, 3, 3, and 2, 2. It's really hard to read in this format. It's so hard to see what this is, but this is the same rhythm as this, which is the same rhythm as this, which is the same rhythm as this. So we have this rhythm 4 times, and then we have a similar rhythm. It's the same dotted 8th, 16th, but then we have a quarter note at the end of it instead of an 8th note. So you might recognize this rhythm, and to like make sure that the listener acknowledges the rhythm, it repeats 3.5 times before changing things up. So it's got very little context. The drum is playing exactly so these are actually lyrics I added an arbitrary note. They're spoken, not sung. So I just set it to an arbitrary note. The drum pattern behind it is exactly the same rhythm, so there's very little context for where the beat is. So this is all it has at the beginning. So this is the beginning of the Dun 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 theme.
Oh.
So this is this is it's set up so that there's very little context for the listener, and one might interpret it as this 6/8 rhythm because it's exactly the same, except that there are too many. There's this ending bit, which if we made this an 8th note, and had it just go out of sync, then it would just continue. Like there wouldn't. So there wouldn't be any context without that extra 8th note. So without that extra 8th note, that extra delay of 1/8 note in this pattern is what tricks your mind into thinking that this isn't in 6/8, because, or in I guess 15/8, whatever 5 times 3 would give you if you wanted to extend it that far. But just having that one extra 8th note tells our mind there's something different. So even though it's exactly the same rhythm before, repeated, just having that slight delay is the only context that they give you that there might be something different. And so dun da dun dun da dun dun da dun da dun dun da dun dun da dun da dun da. So dun da dun dun da dun da dun da dun da dun dun da dun da dun da dun da dun da. And it does this 3 times fully, and then it cuts it short the 4th time. And then it still, it adds context, which does make it clearer that it's in 4. Because it's really not immediately obvious from this beginning part that it's in 4, because it has it just does not give a lot of clarity about where the beat 1 is. But then it goes into this part. It's so weird listening to it as notes instead of spoken word, and I don't know the lyrics, so I can't try to try to emulate what's being said. But so we now have a drum part that is in a different rhythm than the melody, and by melody I mean the spoken word above it. It still also has syncopation in it. So it has this 3/3/2, but in 16th notes. So 3/16, 3/16, 2/16. But it does have a clear 1 and 2 and 1 E, 1 E and 1, 2, 1, 3 E. However that would get counted. Anyway, 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2. But so it's giving a much clearer indication of where beat 1 is. This drum part, and this drum part gets used a bunch later on in it, so that the line above it can continue to do interesting things with the rhythm, and it uses that same rhythm from earlier, this dotted 8th 16th 8th. repeatedly. So it does other things in there. So it changes it up a little, but it's still using that same motif. And so it's still resetting every 2 bars, whereas now this drum part is resetting where beat 1 is every bar. So it's making it more solid. And then they add additional things. So even though these rhythms are conflicting, these rhythms do not line up with each other, it still gives a little bit more solidity because they do line up at beat 1. At least every second bar. Yeah, so I might try playing an excerpt of that before we hit ads. We'll see if it gets copyright claimed. I might edit it out if need be. But I think this is a great example of how ambiguity of where the beat is can add interest to something. While then you can validate the hint at where the beat is. How many things do I need to switch to to switch this to what window is it? So many windows. We have dun 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 theme. Okay. So this is the dun 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 opening. And I need to switch it in Discord as well. Switch to this. There we go. Okay, now hopefully the audio comes through in OBS. I will check. This is Firefox. Okay. Let's see. Welcome back from ads. So we just finished listening to the Dun 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 theme, which is a good example of starting out with a bit of ambiguity in what the beat is, and getting a little bit of a sense of wonder out of the listener by having that ambiguity, and then adding a little bit of structure to make it less ambiguous. So let's listen to that beginning of it again. So with that part, it's the only thing that you have to grab onto is that they're invalidating that it's in 6/8. So they have 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1 2, 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1 2. So so that doesn't quite like it's so you know that it's not in 6/8 the whole way, because there's extra in there that doesn't quite line up. But they've sort of set up, but they haven't given anything else. Now, our mind does tend to have, like, because we hear so much stuff in 4/4, 4/4 time is kind of like a default, that because we've heard so many things that have a 4/4 meter to them, when there's ambiguity like that, the mind will tend to latch on to, well, maybe this is a 4/4 meter. And so I can't clap along with it. I can't clap, or I keep forgetting that. Okay, so so it's like dun 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 dun. So if you do pick a 4/4 meter that lines up after the end of that little hiccup, you can go back and like rationalize it, but it's not until there's been that hiccup that it really gets clear what the meter might be. And even then, it could be just changing meter. That's an option too. You don't have to stay in the same meter. Actually, am I still sharing this on? Okay, I am. Good. So it's not really until we get additional context info that it's really clarified what the meter is. So there we have the bum 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 bum, and that's repeating every 4 beats. So it's much clearer that now we're definitely in 4/4. And even though it's got that syncopation in there with bum 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 bum, it lands on beat 1. And that's consistent, even though the rhythm that the singer has on top is really complicated. It's got some really complicated rhythm there. They line up together after 2 bars of 4/4, so that further validates that it's in 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 bum 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 bum. I have to remember to pause it when because of the lag issue I mentioned at the beginning. I can't clap or sing along with the thing. I have to pause it, else they'll be out of sync. So now it's added more context. It's removed the rhythm section entirely. Both the rhythmic vocals and the drums. But now it's much clearer that like this is it's undergone a big change but kept the same meter. So that's further validation that it's that's what the meter is. It keeps so it's got that drum rhythm again, the bum 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 bum, and it has a similar rhythmic motifs as it had earlier in the vocals, but now they're a little bit shorter and more lined up with the beat. So it's all about finding these cues to like as a composer, it's like trying to figure out how can you keep stuff interesting while having the listener not be completely lost. And as a listener, it's about finding like what are the signposts that you can see. So it's a little bit of an interesting quirk, and it just it keeps validating that feel for the rest of the song. So that's one way you can go about it, but sometimes you want to do stuff a little bit differently. And I have an example here. Now, am I going to share this? Can I? Okay. So, okay. I guess I can do that. Is this going to work? So, sometimes you don't want to validate a consistent meter. Sometimes you want to have you want to keep the listener on their toes, and really hammer in that stuff is unstable. And and so actually I might need to reduce the audio on this. Okay, I'll reduce it a little bit. Hopefully it's not. Oh wait, actually I reduced it on the YouTube side, so it's probably not too bad. Okay. So this is something I've written that is actually based on a Dvorak symphony, but it says cello metal. And I should share this in OBS if I can. I need to... where is that option? I need to be careful not to share the wrong window. Select window. This is it going to show the right one? This one. Okay. Okay. Now it's going to show up as the wrong size, but that's okay. I can resize it. Where did that go? Here we are. Okay. So this is something oops, gotta lower it in the in the Z order. Down here. There we go. So this is something I wrote a while back, and I'd love to record it sometime, but I'm gonna need to practice a heck of a lot because it's really challenging, but it's really fun. So so this is So it's still all 3s and 2s, but the 3s and 2s are not in patterns that are as common as 6/8 or 4/4. So you can already see on the screen there's a 7/8, and like where it's starting there, it's in the middle of a 10/8 bar. So things are gonna be a bit different. Things are gonna be a little bit different with this meter. Yeah, so you can hear how it keeps changing, like, and it doesn't give you a foothold as to where like things are nice and simple, and so this I would probably, like the 7/8 here, I would probably count as 1 and a 2 and 3 and 1 and a 2 and 3 and 1 and a 2 and 3 and then it switches to 3/4, where it's 1 and 2 and 3 and then it switches to where are we? Back to 7/8, and it's 1 and a 2 and 3 and 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 we've got 6/8 then 1 and a 2 and a 1 and a 2 and a 1 and 2 and 3 and the 10/8 I have as 1 and a 2 and a 3 and 4 and 1 and a 2 and a 3 and 4 and 1 and a 2 and a 3 and 4 and 1 and a 2 and a 3 and 4 and so it really the sky's the limit if you if you really want to play around with making things interesting for the listener. And the thing to be aware of is that when you're doing this, the listener, you need to beat it into the listener's ears. That's why I've got such a heavy drum line on this, is because without it like, you absolutely need to give them something, else they don't have any clue what's happening. Whereas this, I've tried to make it so that it's at least making it clear that yes, the beat is actually doing this. Yeah, so you need to give the listener something, just so that they're not like completely confused. But I really like when it suits the mood, doing something that is a little bit extravagant and having the rhythm really, or having the meter repeatedly come into question. So that's one way you can go about things as well, if you really want to play into that uncertainty. But another way you can do it as well, and I'll stop sharing this window, is you can just give the middle finger to the listener. you can give them an expectation and say, like, just I guess I need to switch sharing again. Stop that one and share this one. Okay, so you can this example is the bane of so many intermediate concert bands. This is so interestingly, it's switching between 4/4 and 3/4 repeatedly. That's not the hard part. That's I mean, whatever. It's awkward to count, but that's not the hard part of this. I know what this is supposed to sound like, and I cannot hear this correctly. I've listened to professional recordings of this, and I cannot hear it correctly. It is so hard to hear this. the way it is written. And then suddenly it switches. So let's listen. So this is Song of the Blacksmith, Holst's version of it. It's actually arranged for concert band. But every single time I hear this, I hear 1, 2, 3, and a 4, and 1, 2, and 3. But that is not how it's written. That is not how it's written. It is written as 1 and 2 and 3. Oh gosh, I can't even count it when it's like that. But it sounds like it's on the beat because he keeps validating it's over and over. It gives you the beat every single time. So it sounds like this is on the beat. And then the melody comes in and it's not on the beat anymore. Now it sounds like it's off the beat the way that it's written. So it's like you're setting up an expectation that it does not match reality, that comes crashing in when the melody comes in. So, like, it initially sounds like bum 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 ba-da-dum bum bum ba-da-dum bum 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 ba-da-dum bum bum ba-da-dum bum, and then the melody comes in, and the mind just switches to its bum 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 ba-da-dum bum bum ba-da-dum bum 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 ba-da-dum bum bum ba-da-dum bum. It is the biggest middle finger, and that entrance for the poor, I think it's saxophones that come in. Maybe it's not saxophones, but it's some poor instrument that has to come in at a time that sounds wrong and assert dominance over these other players that have been playing. And it's so hard for those players to follow the conductor playing off the beat when it sounds like they're on the beat. So yeah, you can do stuff like that where you just play with the mind if you really want to. But yeah, that's I think that was all we Oh, actually, I didn't play Green Hill Zone. So yeah, I was gonna play Green Hill Zone because that was one of the examples I had earlier. That doesn't sound it doesn't sound great when it's okay, that's Green Hill Zone. I'll switch it over in the Discord. Stop that. Yeah, share screen. Okay, there we go. So I'll just play a bit of it to give it a sense. I just had the intro and the beginning of the melody. So there's a ton of stuff going on in there, but it has a super solid foundation of what the beat is. Like apart from the first bar, the first bar is just I don't know. It's it's a flourish. It's a flourish of some sort, I guess. But then. So they've got the drum beat with the bass drum doing eighth notes and the snare drum on 2 and 4, as is the usual rock beat. So even though they've got the dun 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 dun, wait, how does that go again? Dun, 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 dun. So even though it's got syncopation in there, and it's got syncopation in the melody when it comes in, because it has this super solid bass in there, or I guess the bass is also it's playing just eighth notes. Really, like the drums and the bass keeping the rhythm solid. It gives more freedom to the melody line. So yeah, so so how are we doing for time? We're at 2 hours, 2.5 hours. So I was gonna possibly do some clapping, but yeah, I don't know. We'll see. It's a good exercise to test whether you can really read the rhythms, but I don't know if it's super important. So stop sharing that one and share this one. Okay. So, oh, right, I should zoom in. So I've got a whole bunch of rhythms here. And so I guess Xenos, how would you feel about a bit of trying to read and clap these rhythms? So just one bar at a time.
Okay. I don't know how much longer I can go because I'm starting to have coughing fits.
Oh, okay. Oh, goodness. Okay. We can skip the
Yeah.
clapping. Yeah. No worries. No worries. It just gives a bit of a feel of how things
But yeah, like these first
go.
couple, like I could probably do a couple.
Okay.
But
Okay.
like the first one is just like kind of like what 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah. Yeah, the first one is just 4 quarter notes.
Yeah, and then the second one I think is 1 and 2 and 3 and 4.
Yeah, so it's if you clap out the rhythm, it might be easier.
Okay. Is it picking up the claps?
Oh, that's a good question. I I wasn't hearing any claps.
Oh no, I'm clapping. Wait, let me see. My settings may have changed.
Oh, audio settings. Yeah, it might be doing compression on the claps.
Okay, because like this is something that I don't do out loud. So it's kind of hard reading along with it. So this one is 2 quarter notes, right? And then no, 2 eighth notes and then quarter notes, right?
Exactly.
1 and 2 and 3 and 4.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
Yeah,
you got
so
the claps, Annie?
Yeah, 1 and 2,
Okay.
3, 4. Yeah, exactly. You got it. Yeah. And then the third bar.
Yeah, that's.
Or sorry, the fourth bar, number 4. Sorry, the third example in bar 4.
The eighths and 2/16, right?
Yeah.
So and then that's oh gosh, what it's like 1 E and so it's like it's hard to clap and do it at the same time.
Yeah.
So it's like 1 E and oh gosh, 1 E. Yeah, like I have to slow down. So I like 1 E and a 2 and 3 and 4. So
yeah. Once you get used to them, hearing them and like feeling them, it'll get a lot easier. So 1 and a 2, 3, 4. So 1 and a 2, 3, 4. Yeah.
Okay. So I'll try to go 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough. It's tough starting out, but you basically got the hang of it. So I'm just like adding one different rhythm at the first beat of the bar. So we've got if you want to try bar 5.
Okay. So it's like it's the same, but the first notes are backwards, or like
exactly.
reversed.
Yeah, it's
so
the opposite of the previous one.
Okay. Oh, God. 1 E and a 2 and a 3 and a 4.
Yeah. 1 E and 2, 3, 4. 1 E and 2, 3, 4. That one, it's
1 E and 3, 4.
It's a little less common. It's a little less
Right.
common. And then number 6, we have the rhythm that we looked at before with the dotted 8th, 16th.
Oh, man. And so that means it's held just a little bit longer, right?
Yeah, it's held for 3 16th notes.
Man. So it's what 1, a 2, 3, 4, right?
Exactly, you got it. Yeah.
Okay.
Totally. Yeah, exactly. So 1 E and a 2, 3, 4. Da 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 da.
Yeah, so you're like skips over the and part for that one.
Yeah. 1, a 2, 3, 4. Yeah. So I won't bother like giving you these other ones. This is what it's written like if it's syncopated. Da 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 da. So if you have a syncopation in the middle of the first beat, it's 1 E, a 2, 3, 4. So we didn't.
Okay.
Yeah, we didn't look at that previously. And a rhythm that gets used in a lot of folk music is 1 E, 2, 3, 4. Da 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 da. So it has the it's related to this, but it has the 16th on the beat, and so it's like almost immediately after you have the next note. Yeah, so it's I guess it's considered very Scottish, but it comes. I think it's sometimes called Scotch snaps, or maybe I'm mixing that up with something else. But it comes up in a lot of different types of folk music. And then we have just 1 E and a 2, 3, 4. So with clapping, the interesting thing about it is it doesn't really have a sustain to the note. It's so so this rhythm of 4 quarter notes is really the same as far as clapping is concerned as just 8th note, 8th rest, 8th note, 8th rest, 8th note, 8th rest, 8th note, 8th rest, because it's like the length that it sustains for doesn't make a difference. So this is a dotted quarter. So we only looked a little bit at dotted quarters. But so this would be like 1, 2, and 3, 4. So 1, 2, and 3, 4. And so this is like, as I said, with claps, the actual length of the sustain doesn't, there is no sustain. So this is the same as having an 8th note, 2 8th rests, and then this sort of stuff. So like there is some ambiguity with percussive sounds as to how you write the notes, but it's the same sound either way. So it doesn't really matter which you pick. So I had those examples as like varying the rhythm on beat 1. So it can sound a little bit different varying the rhythm on other beats. So having 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1, 2, sorry. Let's start that again. 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And thank you so much for the follow. Welcome on in. Skyfire the Pegasus says, this is reminding me of when I used to be able to read sheet music. Well, I mean, it's if you'd like to read sheet music again, it's not too difficult to pick up the basics at least. Like, you don't necessarily need to read it in real time as you're playing something. If you're just looking to be writing things or looking at existing pieces of music and analyzing them. So it can be done at a little bit more of a leisurely pace. um, than it's usually done when being taught in the context of playing an instrument. So, can change things up a little bit again with so Skyfire says, I got into producing, or at least attempting, an FL Studio today. Oh, nice. Cool.
Hey.
Yeah.
I actually just got started too, and Tawny's teaching me.
Yeah. That's exciting. Anything in particular you're interested in producing? So we've got with the 16th, so we have the 1 and we have the 2e and. So 1 and a 2e and 3 and 4. So we can make more interesting rhythms by just mixing up the parts, throwing them in the taking the Lego set and playing with the bricks. So we had so these 4 bars are 1, 2, 3 and 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 1 and a 2e and 3 and 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So yeah. Yeah, and having things at the end of the 4th beat can also sound different. I'll just skip over those. And this was just the rhythm of the melody in Green Hill Zone. So now we're at the part where we're like, okay, well, we've mentioned a few times like a rock drum beat. And so what does that look like? And in this case, sort of the basic standard starting point for a rock drum beat is a kick drum, which is sometimes known as a bass drum, though that can be confused with another type of drum that's also called the bass drum. But it's on 1 and 3, and the snare drum on 2 and 4. Now, the interesting thing about this is that the snare drum comes through a lot more intensely, usually in a lot of the mixes. So it's kind of reversing the expectation in other stuff that beat 1 is more emphasized than the other beats, because in this case, beats 2 and 4 are sound more intense than beats 1 and 3. But it also sets up a bit of an expectation that one way that we internalize beat 1 is having a low sound that's hitting on beat 1. But yeah, so this is so Skyfire says, mostly wanting to do it for video games so I can do more within that area. Oh, really cool. Yeah, there's all sorts of stuff you can do that's really neat with video game music. So we'll be listening to a bunch of examples shortly. So yeah, so that was just kick drum on beat 1 and snare on beat 2 and 4. And I mean, it doesn't have to be at this relatively slow tempo. You can push the tempo up as much as you want, really. So you can have it go quite a bit faster. This is just slower so that we can hear what's going on more easily. And we have the closed hi-hat. So a hi-hat is a pair of cymbals where if you push a pedal down with your foot, they will go together. And if you hit them while they're closed, it has a sort of short little sound like this. So Skyfire says, the challenge right now is preparing to do themes for the characters in the fighter I'm working on. Ooh, cool. Yeah, having motifs for different characters that you can play around with is really fun. Yeah, that's really neat stuff. Yeah, we haven't gotten into like having more advanced motifs or things like that yet. Yeah, so it's just a really basic rock drum rhythm. The simplest change you can do is add extra kick drum beats, but keep the snare on 2 and 4. It's a slightly different feel, but it's pretty similar. And so this is a pretty common variation on it. So you can, because the kick drum sound isn't as grounding in this case as the snare drum sound, you can play around with the rhythm a bit more. This example still keeps beat 1 solid, but it doesn't have a beat 3 kick drum. Oops. So we have that, like just, this is just changing the kick drum rhythm. And then we introduce our first drum fill, is what this is called. So this is a really slow drum fill, but at this tempo at least. But it's where, for emphasis, you add something different. Like if there's not much happening in the vocals, like if they're taking a breath in between stuff, it's often a good place to add a drum fill, to have something different, and then come in with a crash cymbal to emphasize the. So these are toms, tom drums. They're drums that have a pitch to them, at least a little bit of a pitch usually. Whereas like the snare drum is usually effectively not, it doesn't have a pitch to it, and the bass drum doesn't have a pitch to it. And they do this by having basically muffling effects. Like they have a felt pad in some place on the drum that makes it not have like a single clear tone to it. But the tom drums usually don't have that, so that they have a bit of a pitch to them. So you can sort of hear that da 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 dum. And so there are toms of different sizes, and I think this one is a floor tom, or it's supposed to be. So it's like it's too big to fit on the drum kit, so it's to the side. So, and I think I also have examples of some more things you can add. So that was open hi-hat. So if you open the hi-hat, you get a sound like this.
Right.
And actually, when you close the hi-hat, there's another. I think there's actually a separate MIDI sound for closing the hi-hat in addition to playing the closed hi-hat. I don't remember what note it is. The MIDI drum reference is a bit of a mess. You can also use silence to your advantage. So you can have interesting things by dropping out the drums, whether it's for a beat or for a bar, or for longer than that. We heard in the Dun 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 theme, they drop out the drums entirely for quite a while and then bring them back.
Right.
So you can get pretty arbitrarily more complicated. I think this was from Chemical Plant Zone, I think this is the last example I have, and then we'll get into listening examples. So it's a lot of notes, but it's still just the basic components. You've got the snare on 2 and 4, 2 and 4, 2 and 4. And there are a few extra snare hits. It's still on 2 and 4, but you've also got on the and of 3. and a couple 16th notes in 4. And the hi-hat has more notes in it, doing a bit of syncopation in here. It's really hard to hear what the rhythm is in here. I'm only like 20% sure I have the right rhythm here. And it's got syncopation in the kick drum, the bum 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 bum, the bum 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 bum. It's hard to we'll hear the real thing in a moment, and try to listen for the drums in there, because it's really neat. So you can get really fancy, but keeping it not over the top. Like this still sounds like a reasonable rock beat. It doesn't have to be. I mean, if you're getting into like blast beat drumming or something where you have a million notes like that is that is a style, but it's something that is something that like I wouldn't feel comfortable writing in that style until I knew more about it, because there are additional motifs and things with that that a listener of that type of music would expect. And I mean, I've shared some examples of you with much more complicated drum beats in DMs, but I shared, or actually, I guess I didn't link to it, but I mentioned "Hot for Teacher" by Van Halen, which has just a ridiculous drum part at the beginning. It's intended it's intended to sound like a motorcycle rumbling. And like, so it's really hard to follow what the actual rhythm is, but it sounds really cool because that's the effect they're going for. And then as it gets going, like there's tons of stuff going on with the cymbals. So the sky's the limit with a lot of this stuff, but if you're gonna tread into there, it's really good to have a sense of like have the comfort, like knowing what's going on with that, so that it doesn't just end up sounding confusing to a listener. So I've got a bunch of examples. I probably won't share all of them. There are way too many things in Undertale. Undertale has so much cool music in it. It would be great to share all of it. But let's start with. So I mentioned Chemical Plant Zone. That last drum beat was from Chemical Plant Zone in Sonic, and it is really cool. The melody is extremely complicated and syncopated, as we'll see in a moment. Going on in that. There are so many layers in this.
Right.
But the drum beat is keeping it the drum beat is what's keeping it solid. And the melody is highly syncopated. Even just the synths at the beginning. Dum ba 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 bum ba. It's like it starts with two on beats like bum ba 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 ba, and then it's like it's 2/16 off beat, and then another 2/16 off beat, and then it just so it's it's a really challenging one to try to transcribe, and that is a good example where it really helps to reduce the playback speed. sound great, but it will help with figuring out what. So there it's much easier to hear that those 16ths are before the beat instead of on the beat, because it's at half the speed. So there's no shame.
Also, Skyfire mentioned the water segment in Act 2.
Yeah.
I just wanted to point out, you even mentioned that to me in DMs too. Just don't think about that.
Yeah. Just don't think about the drowning music.
The trauma.
Yeah. So so that's an example of how, like, having, even though there's a million things going on in that arrangement, there's so many layers listening to it. Like, having a solid rock beat can mean the world to a listener, for giving a sense of grounding. So this one now I should probably bring up the few notes that I do have. So this was Celeste First Steps.
This song is a good one.
So this one we have 1 eando, 2 eando, 3 eando, 4 eando. Now I'm just assuming it's in 4. I don't have a clue at this point whether it's in 4 or not, because it's the same beat over and over. Now, it just happens, if you were counting that in 4, the next thing comes in on beat 1. So it gives a slight validation that maybe this was in 4. And that also came in on beat 1. Got a little syncopation in there. Not quite everything on beat. So in this case, the low parts are actually doing syncopation as well. But because it's so established, having the sort of ostinato part. Oh, and thanks so much for the bits. Welcome on in, Sea Goat. Good to see you. Yeah, so because it has that ostinato, and ostinato just means like a repeated pattern. It just keeps going. That's what a listener is gravitating to. But we have Resurrections. Now, I made a note to start this around 5:53. I'll start a little bit before this. So here we've got classic drum beat, rock drum beat. So this is very clearly in 4. Yeah, so it's got, I don't know if it's quite snare. I think it's a rim shot. So it's like if you hit the snare drum and the rim of the snare drum at the same time, it sounds a little bit different. But also this is a good example of like having a little bit of a dropout to make it more impactful when things come back in. Yeah, so earlier it had more stuff going on, but then stuff kind of dropped out. Is that a tempo change, maybe? Yeah, it sounds like it gets slower. Yeah. And then that cymbal sound is a suspended cymbal. And unfortunately, MIDI doesn't really have suspended cymbal rolls. But that's what, if you have a suspended cymbal and hit it repeatedly really fast with felt mallets. That's what gives that flourish sound. So it's a really nice effect for building into a new section.
I see.
I guess it's not used as much in rock because like you don't like they're not going to switch to felt mallets in the middle of a rock thing. But in video game music, it's great. So yeah, but yeah, it has that standard rock feel that really the melody keeps doing interesting things. A little bit of syncopation in there at least, but it's not too out there. Now we've got. Okay, we're almost at 3 hours. Oh goodness. Okay, yeah. So we've got a bunch of stuff from Undertale. I'll skip through some of it. So this is Bone Trousel, which is one of the more famous ones. So this one, the percussion is 100% like beating the rhythm into the listener's ears, or like beating the meter into the listener's ears. But the melody kind of gives a hint though that because there's not much difference between beats 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, the melody kind of plays with a little bit of the ambiguity of which one is beat 1 and which one's beat 3. So it's a little interesting what they do with that. So this example is pretty short, but it was one where it was another good example of the 3-3-3-3-2-2. Yeah, so 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2. So yeah, so it can be used in a bunch of different contexts. Thunder Snail. I don't remember what Thunder Snail is like. Yeah. So this one doesn't really have a rock beat yet, but it's still kind of established a pretty solid good. So it doesn't have to be the same sort of standard rock beat. Oh right. So this one sounds totally silly, but is basically just a rock beat.
No, I hear it.
Yeah, if you imagine like the lower voices being a kick drum and the higher voices being the snare drum.
Yeah.
Oh right, we had a good example of the 6/8 and 3/4 alternation. Oh right, it can't count with it. 1 and a 2 and a 3. 1 and a 2 and a 1 2 3. 1 and a 2 and a 1 2 3. 1 and a 2 and a 1 2 3. 1 and a 2 and a 1 2 3 is what this is doing. Yeah. So that's an example of where like that sort of 6/8 and 3/4 feel might come in. We've got Stronger Monsters. This one's a little bit harder to hear the consistency of the beat because they don't have the snare staying with 2 and 4.
Right.
So it's still in 4 as far as I can tell, but it's got extra syncopation in there because, or the syncopation feels extra strong because there isn't as much consistency in the drum part. So it's really the piano, the low piano notes that are it's all that the listener has to gravitate to. So it has a little bit of a more agitated feel to it because there isn't that stability. But just because something is more syncopated doesn't necessarily mean it's agitated. So it's still very syncopated. Everything basically in that is syncopated to some extent. But it's a relaxed Latin feel. So it's not so that's Hotel is that one. But for the big I can't play Undertale music without playing the the one that is the climax, Hopes and Dreams.
Yeah.
The interesting thing about the beginning here is that it's the lower strings that are playing da 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 da. So it's also not really a rock groove, but it's something that's because they have the accents in there. It's enough for the listener to, especially because the melody is less syncopated. Oh, we've got ads soon. We're almost done. Almost done.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then it goes into rock
the ads to make sure we don't get them.
So this is the rock. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I don't know exactly when ads are going to be starting. It's always a little bit of a gamble, but
are you able to pause them, or did they already start?
I don't know where the option to pause them is.
Oh, you have to. Okay.
I should probably figure out where that is.
Yeah, it's a separate dock, I think, that you have to bring up. Yeah.
Okay, good to know. Good to know. But yeah, so this. Oh, now we've got ads. Okay, I'll take a break.
Okay, there you go.
Welcome back from ads, everyone. So we were just listening to the Hopes and Dreams track from the Undertale soundtrack. So we have this beginning section where it's just strings. And it's interesting, the lower strings doing the rhythm are actually playing a syncopated rhythm. Da 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 da. So it's that it's like the 16th 8/16 rhythm that we very briefly saw. And even though it's syncopated, it because there's enough of an accent on the beat, it sounds like it still steady because it's always on the beat. And then I have a little bit of suspended cymbal roll in there, but it gets cut short. Now we have a standard rock groove with the kick drum on beat 1 and beat 3 and the snare on beat 2 and 4. It might be a double kick drum. And then it changes again. Have a bit of a breakdown. So we still have snare on beat 2 and 4, but the cymbals are a little bit less Like we had more cymbal in there. We also had more inner voices. Yeah, the guitar is much more sparse and more 22. And it goes back to similar to what it was before. We have a bit of a different section, but the low guitars and the drums keep doing what they're doing. So the melody can change quite drastically and have still stuff be a good rock feel. Have a big open space, no drums. Let's hear what they do for the lead-in for that. So it had a bit of a rise up in the, like, similar to a suspended cymbal roll. I don't know exactly what clip they're using for that, but... And stuff... Okay. And stuff comes back. Drums drop out again and come back in again. So there's all sorts of stuff going on in this track with playing around with having different sections having different feels to them. Yeah, it's really neat seeing how I guess Toby Fox Toby Fox put together the arrangement.
Yeah.
So, right. So I had a couple other examples. Probably, well, so Breath of the Wild got a lot of blowback for having music that's a little too sparse for people's tastes. I think that was probably a technical limitation in a roundabout way because of transitions. So there aren't many actual. There are a few key melodies in Breath of the Wild, but one of them that I really enjoyed that is only in a mini game, and it's such a shame that it's probably my favorite melody from Breath of the Wild. And it is just, so it's not a rock rhythm, but it has low sound on the beat and high off the beat to establish the beat. It's a very different feel to it, but similar idea. Then it just repeats. But it's like, wow, they put in so much effort for this this music that barely gets used at all in the game. They also reused it in Tears of the Kingdom, but in an even more obscure mini game that's harder to find because the guy doesn't even show up until after you've done the plot relevant stuff that's in the area or something like that. But it's so it's got a different sort of way of establishing the beat. The boom 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 boom, having that the 5-1, 5-1, 5-1. So using the ideas from that we talked about last time, and so another way of establishing the beat. I also really love this music. So the low instruments are grounding the beat, and because the melody doesn't strive too far, it's not too heavily syncopated. It doesn't need as much support in keeping the beat grounded. So it's really neat how they had like a small intimate ensemble feel to it. But last but not least, we have the one that I was hoping we would have time for you to actually like try transcribing live, but might have to have that as homework. I don't want to be wearing you out when you're still recovering from your sickness. But the Outer Wilds theme, and it is a great example of how things don't need to be extremely complicated to be beautiful and impactful. So there's actually a lot going on in this if you really listen to, to all of the little bits.
I was noticing it for the first time. Yeah. Like there's like a layer way underneath, even at the very beginning.
Yeah. So there's a little.
Yeah, there's like little plucks,
little like
barely audible.
So there's the synth. There's no.
The
and there's
synth.
the guitar ding da 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 da. Nice perfect fifth in there. So we've got like two different synths going on.
Yeah.
And the sort of snaps or whatever it is. So when the banjo comes in, there's even more stuff. There's the bass. There's the tambourine. I've got a tambourine. So it's got tambourine in there, and then it's got maracas. Of inner voices that are or higher in, like, they sound sort of synthy, but it's hard to hear. And there's the harmonica. now we've got it down to guitar. A bunch of stuff has dropped out.
Yeah. I just want to say, since we started, I've been able to hear like different layers more easily, and being able to hear them so clearly now with this song making me cry.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and I know, like, especially with how in the game, like, different parts of the music are associated with different characters in it. It's
Yep.
really effective how they did that. And what was I going to say? There was, so with the banjo, yeah, so there are many layers in that. And so fully replicating this would be a lot of work, just an absolute ton of work. But the individual components aren't as complicated. So transcribing the bass and the banjo and the guitar, and I mean when the harmonica comes in, I guess a bit of the harmonica would already be a lot. And I mean, like, you can add the tambourine on the offbeats and maracas. Yeah, so I wouldn't ask you for homework to like try to replicate this, but to figure out what the notes are and the rhythms are in the main parts. So you can probably start with the banjo. Because it's like the iconic melody in it, and and actually I guess you can probably start with the guitar at the beginning, because that really establishes it. Though it goes for quite a while before the banjo comes in. If you can get those two notes, you can get the key, because that's the perfect fifth of the key. And yeah. So the rhythm in the guitar there is a little more complicated. That's quite a bit more complicated. But like I'm just thinking the main melody part. Yeah, and hearing the more complicated guitar rhythm with the melody and the banjo over top of it is a lot harder. Sounds like there's piano in there. And a lot of reverb. But yeah, it very clearly establishes what the key is, and it gives a lot of signposts along the way. Even though it doesn't have like a rock feel to it, it has a different way of giving the listener things to signposts to latch onto.
Right.
Oh, right. Skyfire said a few minutes ago. Sorry about that. One game theme which had an effect on me, and hearing it gives me a slight shudder, is the Cynthia piano theme from Pokemon Diamond and Pearl. If you know, you know. Well, I mean, we could Cynthia, Pokemon. I mean, the suggestion was okay. Cynthia battle music from Pokemon. Yes, okay. Yeah, it's got a few things going on. It's got some things that are like solidly on the beat. It's got some things that are yeah. So oh yeah, the piano thing. Yeah, that's not piano. Piano. Let's see. Approaching Champion Cynthia. Okay. Encounter music.
Ooh.
Oh, right. Yeah, that is a good example of the doubled notes make it really harder to latch onto the rhythm, which gives it more anxiety in there. It's really cool. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
really
that's
cool.
good.
Yeah, it's
Shudders, yeah, I had the same feeling. Shudders.
Yeah, it's got a bunch of things in there that have aspects that keep the listener on edge. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, so that is everything that I had for today. I did want to mention, though, things we haven't covered. Because there's a lot of stuff we haven't covered. I already mentioned that we haven't gotten into swing rhythms. So swing is a whole other thing. I will probably do a separate, not necessarily a lesson with Xenos, but I've been meaning to do a stream or a video or something for a while, describing the where was it? A piece that I wrote this summer, that I'm calling Double Dip, and it is very swung. Everything about it is swung. So that gets into a whole lot of other stuff. So we haven't talked about swing rhythms. If you'd like to do swing stuff, so in rock, swing mostly comes up in like rock and roll type stuff, like some of the older style rock that has like more blues influences, and so it's a little bit of a different style than most modern rock. Though I did like there are several examples by Van Halen that do have that sort of feel. So it's not like all from the 1950s or anything. Like Elvis had a ton, You Ain't Nothing But Hound Dog is in that style. Jailhouse Rock is in that style. A lot of those 1950s rock things were very blues inspired. And so they had a lot of swing rhythms in them. But yeah, there is some stuff from the 80s, like Van Halen, that they sometimes used sort of a more bluesy style. And Hot for Teacher, once again, is extremely fast swing. It's not what you usually encounter with swing, but it's it could be interpreted as swing, as one possible interpretation, even though it's extremely fast. So we haven't talked about swing. I don't think that'll be a big issue. We haven't talked about triplets. So that would naturally come up if we talked about swing stuff. The thing where that might come up for you a bit is the sort of 3-3-2 pattern. Sometimes that can sound very similar to triplets. And so the ba da 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 da. Sometimes you want to have instead of having da 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 da, you want da 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 da. So it's very similar, but it's a 3-against-4 feel. Or for faster triplets, it's like da 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 da. So it's splitting things evenly into three. So it ends up more like what we looked at for 6/8. Because in 6/8 you have beats that are split equal, like into three equal pieces. So you have one and a two and a three and a one and a two and a one and a two and a one and a two and a. So that's more closely related to triplets. But yeah, so it can triplets can get a little bit like they're used like in rock they would mostly be used for a like a jarring effect. To be slightly slightly different from what people are expecting. So they do get used, and as I said, they're basically the basis of swing rhythm. So there's a lot of other stuff that's even more complicated that we don't need to get into. But yeah, so that's some of the stuff we haven't covered today. In terms of But like I think this is a really solid foundation for starting to write a rock song. The biggest thing that we haven't covered, or like I would say the most urgent thing, but I'm not sure I'm the right person to teach it. But something that that might be intuitively obvious to you, or it might be a real struggle, or anything in between, is prosody. Figuring out how, like, what rhythms naturally fit well with different lyrics. It can be really challenging in some cases. You may want, like, I know you've already written some lyrics. There may be situations where you want to make slight modifications to the lyrics in order to fit a rhythm that you have in mind.
Right.
Or modify rhythms that you have in mind in order to fit the lyrics better. There are a lot of examples of different things like that, but I don't want to like get into a whole thing right now about it.
Well, I was gonna ask a question. When
Yeah.
when I'm thinking about the lyrics, should I be thinking about it as like an instrument that I'm writing into the piece with the rest of the layers?
That is an excellent question. So, the lyrics that yeah, I guess that also in multiple ways. Yeah, there's so there are certain like certainly there are all sorts of ways that can come into play. If you have lyrics that, for example, at some point in time, you have a held note. Oh, excuse me, I have a bit of hiccups. You have a held note that's on some note that is easy to be drowned out by other things in the ensemble. That's an example, like where it can get really complicated, because it could be that a different syllable on that note might stand out better, or having the note at a different pitch might help it stand out better. Or maybe you want it to blend in and have like a drum fill that takes over or something like that. That's how often drum fills work out, is you have either a long held note and you throw in a drum fill, or it's a gap between notes. Yeah, so it comes into play in a bunch of different ways. But I think the biggest thing like trying to think of examples on the spot is a bit hard, but even just saying the word biggest thing, like you wouldn't say biggest thing as biggest thing. So like having choosing like a rhythm that suits like even though, as I mentioned last time in the singing portion, that you don't have to sing things the way they're spoken. There are certain limitations to how much you can play with things before it sounds really unusual. There's stuff like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is the 4 trochees in a row. It's accented, unaccented, accented, unaccented, accented, unaccented, accented, unaccented. Now, if you say Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, it sounds really strange. And that will continue to sound strange if it's sung. So having, with accented syllables, having them be sound okay being accented in the rhythm is also like if you do have notes that are on the beat, having them be syllables that sound okay being accented is an important thing to consider with prosody. There's a bunch of stuff that like I'm not an expert on that, but it's also something that like I can see you possibly just intuitively like the rhythms that you would happen to think of to go with the lyrics might just happen to be good rhythms. Like it like some cases it like there are some cases where it's not super clear, but there are a lot of cases where it's like it sort of lends itself towards a certain rhythm. Like you'd want to have beating like you want to have like a word that's like beating, you want to have that accented syllable on the beat to have like emphasis, unless it's like accented as a like you would still want to have it accented in the rhythm, but have it as an intentional subversion, that you're making it like it would still sound weird to have it be ting, but having it be beating, but still like on a syncopated rhythm, could still be an effective thing as something to subvert expectations. So there's a lot of stuff that can be done playing with prosody. I tried to come up with, like, if I was making lyrics for Chemical Plant Zone, and when I'm feeling the rhythm, like that's the best that I came up with. Like you can make lyrics where they suit a rhythm that you have existing, and you can make rhythms that suit lyrics that you have existing. But it, like you might want to play around with things a little bit if you really like something, and you can change either one a little bit to make it work how you want it to. So there's all sorts of stuff like that you can play around with. I know we've talked a little bit about harmony in DMs. If you really want to go wild with harmony, there's a lot of stuff you could do, but I don't feel super comfortable going too wild with harmony, because I tend to write myself into a wall and then not know how to get out of there exactly. Oh, thanks so much for the follow. Welcome on in. Feel free to introduce yourself. I hope you're having a good day. With rock, there tends to be a lot of 6 chords, 7 chords, and 1 chords, and sometimes either major or minor 5 chords. And sometimes you can throw in 4 chords and have it sound interesting. There's some neat stuff to play around with. But I'd probably stick with just triads. So just 1, 3, 5 from some note. So so I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce your name, but Alicina Mosani? Okay. Yeah. And welcome on in. They say, hey, nice to meet you. I'm Ali. Oh, okay, sorry. Hi, Ali. Your vibe is really welcoming. I'm glad I found your stream. Oh, thank you so much. That's really nice. Yeah, so today we're doing something a bit different, but I've been really excited to be teaching Xenos music theory so that she can write a rock song. Yeah, so harmony, yeah, so in terms of notes of the scale, just sticking with chords that are 3 notes, that are that have that are separated by 2. So you have 1 3 5, 2 4 6, 3 5 7, 4 4 6 1, because it wraps around, and then 5 7 2, and you can. They don't have to be in what's called root position, which is like a stack. You can flip some down an octave or up an octave, and it's still the same chord. It tends to sound more solid when you have the root of the chord be in the bass, but sometimes you don't want it to sound like you don't want it to sound as settled. Yeah, so I can I can go through that, like, probably that sort of stuff in DMs. I'll talk a little bit about it in like in this stream I mentioned where I'd like to describe what I did for writing Double Dip, because I stepped a little bit out of my comfort zone with harmony. I sort of started with a bass of just 1 chords, 4 chords, and 5 chords, which is like the standard like 12-bar blues is made out of just 1 chords, 4 chords, and 5 chords. Yeah, I played around with stuff to have a sort of goofy feel to it. So I wanted to have it like I almost made some changes to make it like sound more like 1-4-5 in some places, and then I was like, it doesn't sound as goofy. I want to keep the goofy sound, so I got some interesting quirks in there. So I'll talk a little bit about harmony when I describe like how I faced my fear and and wrote that. Yeah, so if you have any questions in DMs, or if you have any suggestions on things you'd like to have a stream to learn about next, please feel free to let me know. And anyone in chat, if there's anything you'd like to see in one of these streams, please feel free to let me know. And yeah, I'll keep posting about them on Discord, and I'll have the posting the VODs for it on YouTube. I need to figure out a better way of editing them. Some people had some suggestions. DaVinci Resolve seems really not to like editing these super long videos. Or someone said there were probably some settings I needed to change somewhere, like for like how it assumes things should be cached. Yeah. Anyway, I think that's pretty much everything for today. Did you have anything else that you wanted to ask or mention, Xenos?
I think the one thing that I had to ask, because I wrote these the 2 questions. The one was like the voice as an instrument, and the other one is like the main thing for like helping ground the listener is having either a layer as like a grounding anchor, which is usually the harmony, or the harmony can be a little out of like sync as long as you have a beat like so you're either using a beat or a layer as like a grounding anchor.
Yeah, so grounding the rhythm is it's easiest to ground the rhythm with the percussion part. People will most strongly gravitate towards percussion for rhythm. So if you have really clear beats and meter in the percussion, people will tend to latch onto that most. But you don't necessarily need to have that as what people latch onto, as I showed with the examples with string parts or other things like that. As long as it's rhythmic, which is a bit of a a silly way to describe it, but like a sort of repeating pattern in the rhythm that people can rely on. It's sort of like building trust with the listener. and while giving them enough clues, like if you just have eighth notes, like if you like that's clear that it's like eighth note. Well, I mean it's clear that it's a consistent rhythm, but it wouldn't necessarily like it can still be unclear which beat is which. So having as an example the kick drum and snare on alternating beats differentiates beats 1 and 3 from 2 and 4, and then having a little bit of variation in beat 3 can differentiate beat 1 from beat 3. So like having a little bit of inconsistency in there can actually like provide a higher level structure to ground to. But in terms of harmony stuff, that's most useful for grounding the listener in the key that you're like the tonic
Gotcha.
and the key and the scale that you're working with. So that's
Okay.
yeah. So harmony is the easiest way to really establish the key. You can do it with melody as well, but if you have a solid melody, or sorry, a solid harmony, you can have you can do weird things with the melody. That like you don't want to get too weird with the melody, like but you can have a bit more flexibility with the melody if you have a strong harmony in there. So yeah, it gets into like orchestration type stuff. So that's another topic we haven't really talked about because like orchestration with most basic rock songs is fairly straightforward. Like the drums, bass, guitar, and vocals is the most like there's sometimes other stuff, especially if you have effects and things in there.
Right.
I know that initial section that you've got that's really mysterious sounding is pretty cool. That reminds me of the like it doesn't have a lot of things for grounding the listener, which gives it that mysterious feel. But then you bring in like so it's very intentional. Like you can tell listening to it that it's intentional, that you're having it be a bit uneasy. And it reminds me of the middle section of Rime of the Ancient Mariner by Iron Maiden, where they just put the weirdest thing the weirdest section I've ever heard in a rock song before. It's got like boat creaking noises. It's got someone like reading the original poem, I think, of Rime of the Ancient Mariner, like from hundreds of years ago, in an ominous voice, dramatic reading, and it's got like the guitars playing like augmented chords. It's got really weird, like the harmonies all just all over the place. And so it's like clear that they meant this to sound super mysterious and like eerie. So yeah, there's all sorts of stuff you can do. Like if you really make it clear that that's what you meant. Like you don't have to stick to any of this stuff. If you really make it clear to the listener that yes, this is really what what I'm doing here. And like you just have to convince them that you know what you're doing, which is sometimes easier said than done. Yeah.